Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and hello to all our YouTube viewers who are just joining the program. We have a new face on the panel.
Good to be here.
The second new face of the day is Nick Camino, Channel 3's own sports guru upstairs. He's joining his co-worker upstairs, Chris Renkel, Dustin Fox, myself. We have Earl and Amp behind the glass. Nick, it's been a long time coming, my friend. 4 years in the same building, and this is your first appearance.
Listen, it's great to be here. I have admired everything you guys have done. It's such a great... This city just has such an appetite for it, right? You think about the Browns, you think about the Cavs, the Guardians, and everybody has an opinion on everything, whether it's a backup quarterback, whether it's a guy coming out of the bullpen. So I think you guys have built something really special here, and it's fun to be a part of it.
We have a mutual friend who will remain nameless for this question.
Okay.
But I was urged and encouraged to ask.
Where are you going now?
What number will be higher in 2026? Myles Garrett's sack total?
Yeah.
Or your handicap in golf?
I'll go the higher will be Myles Garrett's sack total. I would hope that I'm going to start getting into a range where I'm not as embarrassed with my game. But hey, guys, it's good to be here. I was thinking about this on the drive-in real quick before. I know we got a lot of things to get to. We've been playing college football for 150 years.
Yes, we have.
We've been playing college football for 150 years. There's a guy on this panel here that probably played in the greatest game of all time and was a part of a winning team that won that game. It's amazing to me when I really think about it. I've listened to Dustin Fox on the radio for years, had a chance, and I'm thinking about it. We've played college football for 150 years. And Dustin Fox was on a team that not only won a national championship, was a huge underdog in that game, and played in arguably the greatest game ever played. Think about that. That's not like, prisoner of the moment. This was back in 2002. This goes down as the greatest game of all time, and Dustin Fox was on that team. And
Camino, what do you want? Do I gotta write you a check?
I was thinking about it. Well, the invoice is in the mail, but I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it's crazy when you think about it. It really is.
It's cool. I've known Nick for a long time. I feel like we just are buddies more than colleagues. But it's good to have you on the show. And also, we don't really see each other ever.
No, I know.
So welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Even though this is your building?
I thought I'd get you on the tennis court first, but then you found out how bad of a tennis player I was. So you said, well.
First of all, I have no clue about your game, other than you've been trying to get on the court, and you've been ducking me.
I have been.
3 years.
I have been. Strategically.
He's pretty good.
I've heard that.
But no, we're thrilled to have you guys here. We're now one big WKYC sports family, so this won't be the last time you see Nick and Chris on the program. Nick's going to join us for the first two topics here. So let's dive right in.
All right.
When we were getting the rundown ready for today's show, I texted both Chris and Nick and said, hey, we want to cater this to make sure you guys feel as comfortable as possible in your debut. Do you have anything you're got a hot take on that you want to express? And Nick sent back a text that said, I am convinced, and not me, Nick Camino, Nick is convinced that Todd Monken convinced ownership during his interview process that he can fix and/or save Deshaun Watson, and his non-committal to Shedeur Sanders up until this point in the process is further proof of that. Nick, would you like to explain that scathing hot take?
Well, I mean, my whole thing is, listen, Todd Monken's 59 years old. He knows that this was his last opportunity to get a head coaching job. This was pretty much it. And this is a guy who's paid his dues. You think about a guy that started at Southern Miss, worked the coordinator game, right, was in the NFL with the Browns, went back to Georgia, was always trying to get to land that job. And to his credit, he got that job. But I do think there's certain things that you say in an interview process when you're trying to land a job that might make ownership, who has committed a lot of money to Deshaun Watson, that you can probably fix him. And his non-commitment to Shedeur Sanders makes me feel like there might be something here where he told ownership, who has spent a lot of time, they've invested a lot of money into Deshaun Watson, he's still under contract, that he has said, you know what, Jimmy and D, and Andrew, and whoever else is making the calls over there, I can fix this guy. I can fix this guy, and I think that he can have success in my offense. I've proven that. And I think that ownership kind of signed up for that. And Dustin knows this too. When you're drafted by a certain regime, when you're signed by a certain regime, when you are paid by a certain regime, they have a connection to you where they're going to give you an opportunity. So I don't think the days of Deshaun Watson are over with. I don't know if he's going to start day one, but the non-commitment to Shedeur has made me say, yeah, maybe there is some legs here, and he thinks he can fix Deshaun. He convinced ownership of that, and this is going to happen. We're going to see this guy again.
So then I have a question for you, just to follow up on that. Do you think that if he plays, that he'll play well?
That's a great question. I don't know. Who knows what you're going to get? The sample size in Cleveland would say no. But you're looking at now an offensive line that is hopefully beginning to get fixed, and I think they should do more in the NFL draft. But I feel like, finally they're doing some things now that may allow him to have success. The one thing I'll say about Shedeur Sanders, and I am like the only person that is not in this crazy debate of I'm in the Shedeur camp, I'm not in the Shedeur camp. He's had no offensive line. He's made some unbelievable throws, but he's also holding on to the ball too long, and he's a 5th-round pick. Yeah. So I don't know where we're at on him, but I can tell you he hasn't had any receivers. He hasn't had anybody to throw to, and the offensive line has been old and beat up. So I just don't know how you can sit here and say how you can make an assessment on Shedeur. But to Dustin's question, we don't know. We don't know. But I do think that there is something there where Monken has told people, hey, listen, yeah, I can fix this guy. He probably, because he's done it at such a high level for a long time, he probably believes he can do that.
It's just a little scary because if he does play him and start him and he plays above average or halfway decent, then you put the organization in a really tricky spot because we've already moved past all of the
downsides,
wounds that we've had. The money, everything's kind of been put behind us, and then we'd almost like rip off the Band-Aid and open up that wound again. And then if he plays well, we're not giving this guy any more money.
No, you're not going to give him.
But you would. But if he played well, you'd have to consider it.
But if he plays well, at least you have a competent quarterback for 2026. And I'm not saying Shedeur can't be, but if Deshaun gets that opportunity and does play well,
but doesn't
it's not a bad thing for the Browns.
But Mikey, doesn't it take away from Shedeur's opportunity?
If Shedeur can't beat out Deshaun Watson in camp,
that tells you everything.
Then you have your answer.
Yeah,
with the shoulder injury and 2 Achilles.
This is Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been good since 2020. When he's played in Cleveland, has been mediocre at best, and that is at best. Coming off multiple Achilles tears, a shoulder injury that a quarterback, to our knowledge, has never had before and come back from. He didn't look like the same quarterback, and we can argue, was it Stefanski in that system? Was he just shot? Were the mental issues too much? To me, it was all the above encompassed into one. He looked like he was processing slow mentally. His arm didn't look the same. He didn't look as explosive of an athlete as he had in Houston. And now you're telling me all of a sudden, after not playing good football in over a presidential term and a half, he's going to come back and all of a sudden be the 2020 version of Deshaun the Browns gave up all those assets and gave $230 million guaranteed to? I just don't see a world where that's possible. But to your initial point, I do think there were conversations about Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders in all of those interview rooms, and the Browns hired the person they thought could get the best out of their quarterback situation.
I talked right after he was hired. I talked to a former quarterback of his, just, hey, what do you think? And he said he has had so much success at every level with quarterbacks of all different skill types. Just watch, he can. And I think that's part of the reason why he is here, to Nick's point. They hired Todd Monken because they think Todd Monken could get the most out of whoever is that quarterback, whether that's Shedeur, whether that's Deshaun. He is the kind of guy that can come in, mold the offense to the quarterback and get the most out of him. And nothing against Kevin, but I was told by guys in the league that Kevin's offense is so particular, you have to play an exact certain way for it to have success. Todd seems like he's the opposite of that, where he's like, I'm going to make the offense fit the player, which I think really speaks to what kind of coach the Browns are getting. But I thought about this driving in. What is the worst case scenario for the Browns quarterback position in this coming season? Is it Deshaun Watson plays really well and all of a sudden, are you going to sign him to another contract and you've now played yourself out of being able to select one of those great future quarterbacks? I really don't think that they're ready to move on from Deshaun Watson, but
I don't, because they've invested so much into him.
I'm with Nick.
I feel like ownership has invested so much in this guy, even though they've admitted we've swung and missed. They've said that.
Yes.
There is still a part of them that wants to say, you know what? We're going to try to still make this work. There is something in their heads that makes them think that he can still be fixed, that you can rectify this.
I have never been blessed with the opportunity to work a job where I had money to buy a Lamborghini. When I eventually have enough money to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a car of that stature.
Yeah, don't buy them, they're overrated.
I'm never selling. I'm fixing it the 323rd time that the check engine light goes off.
Yeah, that's
I'm
my
still
point.
taking it back to the auto mechanic shop. Why? Because I made that investment and that was my prize toy.
That's right.
The Browns and Jimmy Haslam and D. Haslam, Deshaun's their Lamborghini in this instance.
Absolutely.
And I do believe, despite the fact that they have admitted forefront to the public on record it was a swing and miss, are going to give this guy every opportunity to prove their initial investment right. And that may not be the smart choice. That may not be the right choice. I would much rather personally see Shedeur Sanders get a chance to be the quarterback this year and see if he can become the franchise quarterback for this team moving forward. But to think that Deshaun's not going to factor into this decision somehow, some way, into this quarterback battle is ludicrous. And Zach Jackson from The Athletic was sitting in your chair last week, Chris, and he said there are people in Berea pushing, or at least nudging, that Deshaun Watson is going to be a legitimate factor in this quarterback competition narrative, not just locally, but to Adam Schefter and to Albert Breer and to Pat McAfee. And there's a reason those shows are talking about Deshaun Watson, despite the fact he didn't play a single snap for the Browns last year, and to my point earlier, hasn't been a high-level NFL quarterback since I was 26 years old. And I'm not young anymore. My knees creak and hurt. That's how long it's been.
What's the NFL stand for, right? Not for long.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like, and Dustin's seen it before too, coaches have been in 1 year and out, right? And this is Todd Monken's opportunity here, okay? He feels like he's got to put something up right away. I mean, would it surprise any of us if they got rid of him after one season? Given ownership and the history of things.
Nothing would surprise me with this organization.
So I think Todd Monken says, I need the guy who's going to give me the best opportunity to win. And the interesting thing, to go back to what Dustin said earlier, well, what do you do if he starts playing well? I mean, think about where we're at with the Browns, that's our worry. Wait, what if this guy actually is okay? And I don't know, we maybe go to the playoffs.
Winning's good. Like, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Sure,
it's like a defeatist mentality. I know, Dustin, what you're saying, that you need to build it the right way. You want to, you have a system. You know, he might not have time for this. We're seeing the introductory press conference. We might be at another one next year.
I think he's definitely going to play whoever gives him the best chance. I mean, the guy came here, like you said, he doesn't want to be a one and done. He wants to have an opportunity to win and turn this franchise around, and that's going to be through playing the best quarterback that he feels like gives him a chance to run the offense he wants. If it's Deshaun, then so be it. We'll see. I guess I'm just concerned that the organization, if Deshaun does start and plays well, like, they need to really be sure on this guy, if like long term.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. It'd be great to get some wins this year, Mike, for the 2026 season. I understand all of that, but man, you don't want to be tied to this guy for another 4 years after this, just because he plays okay. And he has to be exceptional.
He could be a stopgap, because maybe, I'm sorry to the Shedeur crowd, maybe he's not your franchise quarterback.
Don't say it too loud.
And he might not. So we don't know. That's the thing. The Browns don't know. We don't know if he's a franchise quarterback. So you might be going to draft your quarterback next year. So if Watson gives you a chance right now to win some games, why not?
But is winning too many games going to take you out of being able to draft that quarterback? We're right back.
Welcome to the cycle.
Yes.
Since 1999, this is what we've been dealing with.
It's a fair question, but at the end of the day, at some point, it's a new head coach. It's a new regime. They are not coming in, and Todd Monken at 60 years old now, in his first head coaching job, isn't coming in and saying, yeah, I'm okay just being terrible my first year. I'm not going to build my culture because next year we may have a chance to draft a quarterback.
Bingo.
When there are a bunch of other teams that are going to be in the exact same position. The New York Jets just traded for Geno Smith, right? They have 3 first-round picks next year. If it's a race and ammunition to get up to that first pick to take an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore or whoever, the Jets are outgunned you. You're outmanned already. So
this is a results business.
Yeah, you gotta play to win.
I understand trying to build it the right way. They've tried every which way they can. At some point, you have to win football games on Sundays. What are we doing here? Kevin Stefanski's gone. He's fired. He's with a new team because he didn't
win
do
football
it.
games.
I mean, ultimately, you got to do it at some point. I understand trying to build it the right way and trying to have your O-line and set and trying to get the quarterback, but man, at some point, it's like rebuild city here. For how long?
Dustin, question for you.
Yes.
The initial part of this was Nick thinking that Todd Monken convinced ownership that he
thinks
could
I'm
fix.
crazy.
I don't.
No.
Trust me. I don't think you're crazy.
Jason told us the story that Todd Monken was the only one to recruit Nick Mullins at Southern Miss. And he said he saw something in him on the recruiting trail. He was an under-recruited kid. Obviously, turns out to have an NFL career. Monken has that history and track record with quarterbacks. Do you believe the confidence that a coach can have in his own ability to develop a certain position, in this case, Monken and quarterbacks, can translate to a completely new situation with a completely new array of clay to mold that comes with a bunch of scars in Deshaun and an uncertainty in what Dylan and Shedeur can be moving forward?
Like your ability to mold a player, especially a quarterback, goes beyond just like your X's and O's. I think you have to have the ability to coach different styles of players and different types of personalities and be able to put them in a position to make them comfortable. And whether it be Shador or Deshaun or Dylan, I mean, whoever ends up playing as the starter this year, I think that Monken's definitely gonna have a role in shaping that guy. I mean, and by the way, Deshaun is a veteran in this league, he's been around a long time, but he needs to sort of remold his career
100%.
if he's trying to play in this league. Sure. And Shador, he's trying to figure out his way. Same with Dylan Gabriel. Like, those guys are young, and frankly, that is it allows Monken, I think, to mold them. They're like Play-Doh right now. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he has confidence in his ability. I mean, Nick Saban would tell you right now that he feels very confident in his ability to coach defensive backs.
Yeah.
Todd Monken knows how to coach quarterbacks, so that's a good thing.
Chris, you buy the same thing?
Absolutely, because that's what got him here. When he was at Georgia, he took a Stetson Bennett and helped them win national championships. He's taken guys.
Miracle.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
He's taken guys that had success at multiple levels now. So I think you have to believe that he's going to be able to do that. And if he is, another part of this that we haven't talked about, if Deshaun Watson, and he's able to work a miracle again, and he's able to play well, maybe a quarterback-needy team is willing to trade and take on some of that dead money. And maybe they're able to work something out, and then they can move off of him officially. But I believe that he is here, to Nick's point, to mold a quarterback and get the quarterback position right. I'm not going to agree it's Deshaun. It might be Shador. It might be Dylan Gabriel, for all we know. It's going to play out on the field, and what Monken has said time and time again, at least at the Combine when we interviewed him, he said, you can't make these decisions now. It has to work out when it works out. And I like that he's going to wait and let the players work it out, and I think that's why he's not been committal to Shador, is because he wants Shador to go out and earn it. And if Shador earns it, he's going to play him because that's the guy that's going to give him the best case to win.
I know it's not sexy to talk about, but the bottom line is, too, you got to be able to run the football. You got to rebuild this offensive line, which, to their credit, they're finally doing. They were beat up and old on that O-line. We're talking so much quarterback, but you have to run the ball. You have to stop the run. You have to create this system of your own to build a winning organization, a winning team. And I know we have talked so much quarterback till we're blue in the face since 1999, but you have to build it the right way, and it starts on the O-line.
Earl, what do you think about this topic? Are you buying the fact that Monken may have convinced ownership he can save Deshaun, or is Nick coming in here 0 for 1 in his first take and first segment?
I think my man Nick is 0 for 1 on his first day out. But it's all right. It's all right. Nick didn't know better. He ain't understanding himself. You know what I mean? Welcome to UCSS. We can get the pushback. I got to push back on what Chris said a little bit, too, because even though I don't think it's going to be Deshaun Watson, I think you alluded to a worst-case scenario is Deshaun Watson starts and the Browns win so many games that they're out of being able to pick a top quarterback. Most, if not all of us that's sitting in this building are Cleveland Browns fans. So there's no worst-case scenario that ends with the Browns winning games, right? Like, I am in the camp of I can care less who it is, how it gets done. I am born in the city of Cleveland. I was a fan of this football team before a lot of these dudes, all these dudes that were playing on this team now were even born. So if that's the case, I'm going to be a fan of this team when their tenure is over with. We finally have a head coach here who's got a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and then he has a sound plan, X's and O's, to go along with that. Everybody keep making this notion of him being 60 years old and first-time head coach. Okay, yeah, first-time head coach, but 30-plus years of overall coaching experience. He's not trying to come in here and lose. Those guys in that locker room are not trying to lose. Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam is walking around like they should have won more than 5 games last year. And so the fact that they hired Todd Monken tells me that they believe in his ability to put together an offensive system that allows his players to play fast and free, not some, raw potential future coaching guru like we talked about with the Shield houses and et cetera that you got to kind of grow with. He's looking at this like, no, this man means business, and he's going to get the most out of this football team to try to win. Now, last point for me, we got to start listening to what these execs and these coaches say. He told us clear as day at the Combine, this is going to play itself out. The best quarterback in the building is going to tell me who I need to put on the field. And so I get it. We got to do these topics, but active listening, and he's telling us everything of how this thing going to go.
Earl, I can't listen all the time because I've been lied to way too many times in those press conferences by front office people, whether it's with the Guardians, the Browns, or the Cavs. I mean, sometimes they don't even tell you the truth of what they're saying a lot of times because they're not going to tell us everything.
So if you want the truth, that's why you listen to us here on UCSS. And we're not always right, but we're honest. And we're honestly wrong at times, too. We got to take a break, guys. When we come back, it is time to discuss whether or not the Cavaliers have enough talent to win a championship? I know I feel a certain way, and I don't think the rest of y'all do. Debate it in 2 minutes on UCSS. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, crossover with the Channel 3 Sports Department today. Nick Camino, Chris Renkel joining us here on the second hour. A little breaking news in the NBA, guys. The NBA governors have voted to officially expand the league to 32 teams, adding Seattle and Las Vegas into the fold. We'll find out what the proprietary part of that is and how much money Dan Gilbert and other owners are getting by doing this. But the league is expanding from 30 to 32 teams, which will obviously disperse the talent across the board. Talent. And the Cavaliers' talent is what we are talking about right now, guys. Is this team talented enough to win a championship? Not will they beat OKC in the finals, but purely talent-wise, is this Cavaliers roster talented enough to win it all this year? Dustin, what say you, my friend?
Talented, yeah. I think they're as talented as some of these other teams. Are they as good a team as OKC and some of these other squads? To be determined. You know, we have not seen this reiteration of the Cavs yet in the postseason with James Harden, obviously, and Ellis, and who's the other dude we got? Schroeder, yeah, thank you. So those guys, those three players are new, and we also have had the last 9 games plus of no Jared Allen. So I don't know that we know what this team will look like in the postseason, but I know this much, guys. I'm really excited about it, and I thought we had no chance prior to the trade, and now I think we have a chance.
Chris?
Talented, yes. They have every piece. Like, I was looking at the roster top to bottom, and I'm like, what are they missing? I don't think they're missing anything really that big. But talented teams don't always win a championship, and that's where you got to be hot. You got to get lucky a little bit. You got to be healthy. They haven't been healthy. What I like about them right now, the fact that they haven't been healthy and they've still figured out ways to win without a Jared Allen, to win without a Donovan Mitchell, to win without these guys is something that last year's team just didn't have. Everything went their way until it didn't in the postseason. So, yes, talented enough to win it all, absolutely. To Dustin's point, will they? Remains to be seen. I want to see a little more out of them in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, to Dustin's point, I give them a lot of credit, Kobe Altman especially, for recognizing, okay, this isn't working. Okay, what we have here is as talented as Darius Garland is, and he's doing a great job, with the Clippers all of a sudden. We kind of all were like, okay, something needed to change. So I give them a lot of credit for understanding that you can't just keep forcing the two bigs, which they're still going with, but with Garland, it's not working with Mitchell. Like, it just wasn't working. So you have to give them credit for that. Bringing in Harden does help their chances. Now, to your question, are they talented enough? As all three of us agree, and I think you agree, Mike, Of course they have enough talent. You think about the two guards that they have with Mitchell and Harden. They're unbelievable. And if the two bigs are healthy and they're working, it's an interesting makeup. My concern with this team, though, is, and this goes back to, and maybe I'm haunted by LeBron doing unbelievable things here, is that they've just lacked that big wing. You know, they've lacked that big wing. And when you think about big wings, right, you think about Tatum with the Boston Celtics. You think about when he was healthy and everything was going well and they won a championship, Antetokounmpo with the Milwaukee Bucks. These teams that have those big wings, it concerns me that even while James Harden is a pretty big guard, they're kind of in the front court, or excuse me, in the back court, they're a little bit small. And I worry come playoff time, that's haunted them before. We saw it with Halliburton and the Pacers last year. Like, they got exposed. Do they have enough to combat that? I don't know.
I don't think they got exposed in the Pacers matchup because lack of size on the wing. They got exposed because they had no one that could bring the ball over half court in game 2 without Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter in the lineup. I mean, they had 7 possessions in the last 53 seconds, or 4 possessions in the last 53 seconds.
But, Mike, the defense was terrible.
They couldn't get over.
And this goes back, the defense was terrible.
And the defense was terrible last night, too.
Last night, and that's what Kenny Atkinson told you guys after the game in the press conference room. Even after a win, after their 4th straight win, he's got serious concerns about the defensive end of the floor because he knows they're not going to score 136 points in the playoffs. You're going to see games in the playoffs, and Dustin, you watch a lot of NBA. We see games that are 200 to 500 in the regular season. Well, in the playoffs, you're going to see a 98 to 95 game. Right. It's just how it goes.
It all slows down, and that's where the James Harden acquisition, I think, changes their entire championship complexion. And talented enough, yes. Like obviously they're talented enough. They have 4 top 45 players in the league right now. One of 2 or 3 teams that you can make that case for. Talent-wise, yes. Do they all fit together, and will they all play well enough in the playoffs to go on a deep playoff run? That is remained to be seen because these guys haven't proven in this stage of the season that they're capable of doing it night in, night out. The one difference, though, with the Cavs right now versus last year, 2 years ago, even 3 years ago in the first year of the Donovan Mitchell era, is you have a guy in James Harden who can single-handedly change the pace of the game and control the pace of the game. And you're adding into him a Donovan Mitchell who, in the playoffs, that's never been a concern. And look at how well Evan Mobley and Jared Allen have played since this acquisition. In the last 12 games, we talked about it earlier in the show, this is the best 12-game stretch of Evan Mobley's career. He's averaging 21 points, almost 11 rebounds, shooting 63% from the floor. Jared Allen with James Harden's also averaging 20 points and 10-plus rebounds. You can see Mobley's numbers on the screen. Those two playing at the level they're currently playing at changes the entire championship complexion of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They need the guards to supplement and get them the ball consistently, and how Kenny and company figure out how to get this version of Jared and the 12-game version of Evan we've seen while they're both on the court together. That's why they get paid millions of dollars and we get paid to talk about it in this chair. That's the main question they have to answer. But if those two can play at the level they have been, this team is as talented as any team in the league. And I do think they can compete with the OKCs, the San Antonios, the Bostons to win a championship if those guards and those bigs play at this level.
What I like about what Harden brings to the team, you talk about changes their championship complexion. Last year, their offense was so much predicated on getting down the floor quickly, beating teams in transition, which works in the regular season. In the postseason, when it slows down and when they went to the half-court offense, it just didn't have the same effect. Darius Garland, great in the open floor, maybe not so much when you have to combine and put him in that half-court. Harden thrives in that half-court, and he's so good at distributing and having that threat of you can guard him, he's still going to be able to make any shot he wants. So that's what gives me hope going into the postseason of they're going to play right into the Cavs game. Yes, defensively they need to get better, but they're going to be able to have a much better offense when it goes to the half-court game.
And to that point, prior to the Harden trade, the Cavs had the 22nd ranked clutch offense in the NBA. Nick, do you know what it is now post-Harden trade?
13th.
5th.
Wow.
From 22nd to 5th in clutch offense since the James Harden deal. And part of it is...
He helps the bigs, too. I mean, as you guys talked about.
Yeah, huge bigs. But they now have 2 guys at the end of the game where if you're going to blitz and try to get the ball into Donovan's hands, instead of dumping it off to Dean Wade and having Dean Wade play at advantage, we saw it against New Orleans on Saturday. They blitzed Harden, he dumped it to Mitchell, and now you have Donovan Mitchell playing with a 4-on-3 advantage.
Listen, I would love to be able to say at the end of the season, if the Cavaliers win the title, like, man, James Harden was the answer. Can you believe it?
I know.
I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around that because James Harden has never had postseason success. We've seen him disappear in the postseason. However, there is a guy that we're watching who's an aging veteran who still has a little something left in the tank, and he doesn't have something to his legacy, and that's a title, that's a playoff run where he's done something, where he's been a part of a team where he's had some success. So I'm just banking on the fact that this guy's a competitor, and he wants to win. And we can potentially use his strength, which is that half-court offense, and where he can deliver the ball as well as anybody in the NBA.
And it's the pace. And to your point, he makes Mobley and Allen so much better.
Yeah.
And he's unlocked the best version of those two. You weren't in the first segment, Nick, when we talked about it, but what have you liked most about how they've incorporated Harden into this offense?
Well, I just think he brings instant credibility. I mean, he's won at this level. He's done it individually at a high level, and as Dustin said, the only thing he's lacking is that championship. So I think there is that buy-in from him that, he finally wants to get this done. But yeah, he's helped the bigs. It's a veteran presence out there in the playoffs. You're going to need two of these guys because you guys know this, on the road, the role players, things change. They play different at home than they do on the road. And so I'm a guy like Sam Merrill, hopefully he can give you something off the bench, or whether when you go to the road, hopefully these guys are effective. But what we have found is in the playoffs, you need your stars to be stars. You need these guys to shine, and hopefully you have two of them now. The one thing I will say, and we've talked about this, I'm veering off just a little bit here, but you guys can handle the bounce pass.
Whoa.
I do hope that they can stay right in this 4 spot, okay?
Yeah,
I really hope that they can strategically stay there, because it sets you up with a second-round matchup with the Detroit Pistons. And that doesn't mean I'm scared of New York or I'm scared of Boston. Well, maybe the Celtics a little bit. But you do not want a situation where you have to go play New York and then play Boston. Right. Only play one of those in this series. I would take Detroit. You've got the situation with Cunningham right now. They're a little bit banged up. So I think I'd take my chances with J.B. Bickerstaff's team than the Celtics and the Knicks.
It's one of those weird years where the 1 seed is less scary than a 2 or 3. You obviously want to get as high in the playoff seedings as you can, but they just match up better against Detroit. They've had more success against Detroit than they've had against Boston in the past. And if you can avoid having to play 2 of those 3 teams en route to making the NBA Finals, it certainly helps. Back to expansion real quick, though, where we started. You guys are obviously new to the program. Are you in favor of the league? Do you think they needed to add 2 more teams, or do they already have enough talent disparity across
For me, that's
the board?
tough, because I would say no, you don't need that many more teams, but Seattle's such a good market.
Yeah,
I mean, they love their sports. Seattle, they loved the Supersonics. I mean, when they took them. So I'm happy for Seattle, but did the league need more teams? I don't know.
I'm with Nick. Almost called you Dustin. You're Dustin. I'm with you guys. Seattle deserved to have a team back. I'm very happy. I assume they're going to be called the Supersonics. I think it'd be a huge miss.
They better be. They better
if they
be.
don't,
Yes.
Color's name has to go back.
It has to go exactly back the way it was. You don't have KD, but that's all right. You'll get somebody else. Seattle getting a team back, good for them. Very happy for the fans out there. Vegas, think of how quickly we went from we can't have any pro teams in Vegas because the gambling's
0 to
gonna,
100.
Yep.
And now they're going to have the 4 major sports.
If all 4, yeah. All 4.
Plus
Not
the
even that big of a
WNBA team.
city.
No.
Las Vegas is. It's not that big.
And they support the Knights. The expansion Knights have been incredible in Vegas. The turnouts, it's one of the best home crowd advantages in the entire NHL. I'm not sure if the Raiders have had that same translation. It feels like they're kind of hit or miss. We'll find out about baseball. We'll find out about basketball. My bigger issue on the expansion is, right now as of today, we got about 10 games left in the season. There are 9 teams actively trying to lose. You have almost a third of your league right now actively saying, we do not want to win basketball games because we are in a better position moving forward to get better draft odds, et cetera, et cetera.
We got to change the way that
Do we need 2 more?
The draft is done.
You have to.
The lottery is not working. The way that these teams tank and have I don't have the answer. I have some answers, but not the answer. In that commissioner who makes $1 zillion needs to come up with something, because he's done 1,000 things to try to make the league better, and some have worked, some have not.
I'm with you.
Some have not. But the lotteries,
You got to be careful too, because you've got so many teams that make the playoffs. The regular season, at times it doesn't feel all that important. That's what they're dealing
too long.
with. That's what they're dealing with right now, and that's a reality. And that's something that Adam Silver, as Dustin mentioned, he's making a lot of money to make these decisions.
Right.
And I think this country has an appetite for basketball. We saw the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament set records, but the NBA regular season hasn't seen that. So they have to figure that out.
One of the reasons they've been hesitant to cut games is obviously losing revenue.
Sure.
But I wonder if this massive influx of money from these 2 new expansion teams could help even it out a little bit from an ownership standpoint. Would you be okay losing 6 home games a year if you're getting $500 million from each of these guys? Because the evaluations for these teams after the Celtics,
Well, it always comes down to the money.
It's
Dustin
always
was in a union.
show me the money.
Right? I mean, that's it always comes down to that. The players say, "Oh, I want to play less games." Okay, well, this is going to cost you this much money. Well, no, I don't want to give that up. Right. That's how it works.
That's how it always works. Speaking of basketball, the Cleveland Charge, the G League affiliate of the Cleveland Cavaliers, back at home for their regular season finale this Saturday at 7 o'clock against the Long Island Nets. The Charge currently the 3 seed in the G League, which means they're going to get a home playoff game. Either way, they can move up into the 2 seed or even the 1 seed with wins in their final 2 games. Check them out this Saturday, 7 p.m. You can get your tickets at clevelandcharge.com. When we come back here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we're changing gears, talking little Guardians. What is their ceiling in 2026? Are they talented enough to win a championship? We'll get into that and more right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Channel 3 crossover edition. We've talked Browns, we have talked Cavaliers. It is now time to talk about those Cleveland Guardians. Tomorrow, the opening day for the Guardians. We are just 9 days away from the home opener. And the question Earl has posed to us is, what's the Guardians' ceiling this year, Nick?
First of all, that's a great feeling that baseball's going to be back, right?
Back, baby.
I mean, come on.
Back.
That means warm
It doesn't
weather's
feel
coming.
like baseball's back,
this is a
but-
celebration. Even there's an opening game tonight. The Giants and the Yankees play tonight. But it'll be great to have baseball back. Ceiling for the Guardians, it's funny. Anytime you feel like you want to question them because their payroll is going to be like $74 million. I think there's things out there that say 97. That's not true. It's going to be like $74 million. And you think about their payroll in 2001 when the Dolans took over from the Jacobs was higher at $93 million. You know, it's just
That's
crazy.
absurd.
That is
It's
insane.
amazing. I
We
know.
got to talk about that. We have to talk about that. There's nothing that is less expensive today than it was in 2001. Nothing. Nothing.
Inflation's insane.
The dollar store doesn't
and
exist
somehow
anymore.
the Guardians are paying.
But the Major League Baseball team here, we're
And not just slightly. 20 million less.
It does. It is
Absurd.
crazy. So you look at those things, they have no margin for error. They got to play perfect, all those things, right? Okay, those are all going against them. The Tigers are spending money. The Kansas City Royals are a trendy pick in the division this year. So, like, you look at those things, you say, oh, yeah, they're probably going to finish third. They probably will just finish on. But then you look at what they have done, and you look at, you know, the history of what they've done with this front office and with their prospects and bringing in some veteran guys that make sense, and you've got guys that are in their prime now. Like, it almost feels silly to question Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff, and at the top is Paul Dolan, because they've had so much success. I think they're the third winningest team in the American League over the last 15 years. I mean, there's something to be said for that. So we can question the money. We can question all this. We can talk about the lack of spending. No owner, by the way, is going to spend more money than they make. Or at least they're going to break even. That's how this goes. I just think at this point they have set a precedent where it's silly to question them when they continually prove people wrong. Guys, there were 15 and a half games out of first place last year, and they come back and win. I mean, it's amazing.
Chris?
My philosophy with the Guardians is always they have earned the benefit of the doubt
That's
for
right.
every reason that Nick has said. I can look at the payroll, I can look at their decisions, and I can go, I don't know if I was in that position I'd make it, but they are more right than they are wrong. And the ceiling is, honestly, I mean, the great thing about baseball is every team has a chance to win a World Series. This Guardians team, as we talked about in the first hour, Chase DeLauder coming on, we waxed poetic about him. They have the talent, I think, if everyone plays to their ability and they stay healthy, that's the other part, they have the ability to not only go back to the postseason, but make some noise in the postseason. A lot of that is going to be determined what they do in the postseason with who they play, what the health of the Yankees and the Dodgers and everybody else are. You can't concentrate on that at this point on opening day, but they certainly have the pieces to be able to go on a run. And I look back to what Austin Hedges told us at the end of last year when they were eliminated. He said, we have so many young guys on this team. They now have multiple years of playoff experience. When they put it together and they're able to make that leap, there's nothing that's going to be too big for them. And he's right. You think about Kyle Manzardo, this will be his third year in the league. He's been to the playoffs a couple of times. You talk about Bo Naylor has been to the playoffs a couple of times. Gavin Williams, these guys are ascending. And I think that's really exciting when you think about the overall ability of this team to win when it matters.
It's the same thing every year, guys, with this team. It's low payroll, overachieve. It's a great pitching, homegrown products, great managing, all these things. Imagine how good we'd be if we actually spent some money.
Yeah. If Rhys Hoskins and
seriously.
Austin Hedges weren't your two off-season offensive additions.
Seriously, how good would they be? Like the favorites every year?
The Dodgers.
I know, I'm kidding. But seriously, they have $20 million less today on their payroll than they had in 01. That is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
And I thank you for bringing that up.
Well, here's the thing, too. It is, I'm not trying to make excuses for the Guardians. They don't need my help. But it is a Major League Baseball problem. I mean, you think about the amount of money that the Dodgers get from their TV contract and the Yankees. I mean, right now, Cleveland's is with Major League Baseball. It's just the money doesn't add up, so it's impossible. I think a lot of the revenue sharing, unfortunately, gets put back into owners' pockets. They're not putting it into the product. I'm not accusing Cleveland of that, but I'm saying, I think that it's more of a baseball problem, which is why you're approaching a possible labor stoppage at the end of this season. It's why they're talking about having a floor for the salary instead of a ceiling. So it's just, it's a problem. Credit to the Guardians. They have said, hey, this is the situation. So we have to draft, we have to develop, we have to get creative. Credit to them. This is the way they have to operate, and they've done it very well.
I will say to the payroll part of it, part of the reason it's so low this year is Clase and Ortiz now don't count against it. So
Correct.
those two salaries are off, so it was a little higher. So
It was.
It is still absurd that it's $20 million less, but there is a little nuance to it that at least should be mentioned because it was higher before those two.
Also,
got
it is pretty amazing that they lost probably one of the greatest pitchers I've ever seen. Period.
Yep.
I mean, you think about the dominance of
Yep.
Clase and what they were able to do last year. Now it'll be interesting in a full season. How does Cade Smith, how does that bullpen respond to
Without
that?
a doubt.
Because that was a rallying cry for those guys. But now it's like, okay, this is the reality of you lost the best closer in
It's
baseball.
all on you.
And a young arm in Luis Ortiz. This guy was getting ready to make some money and do well. He was eating up innings. He was reliable. They really liked him. Now you're facing the reality of, okay, we don't have those guys. And I don't know how that rallying cry will be now.
But to their credit, you lose Class A, you got a guy ready.
Right away.
Kate
He's
Smith
ready.
was
Right-
ready.
right up,
There
yeah.
was no question of, who's going to be the next guy up? Kate Smith was ready right away.
We did a topic last
But he's not
week.
Class A.
He's not
He's not
Class A.
Class A, but he was pretty darn good.
Yeah, he was good.
He was arguably the best setup man in baseball. We'll
Yep.
see if he can translate into a top-tier closer. We did a topic last week. If all the Guardians players pan out, if all their young guys pan out, if Bazzana hits, if DeLauder hits, if Manzardo takes that next step, if Valera can stay healthy, if Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee and Slade Ciccone, I got that right, and Joey Cantillo and all those guys take the next step, could this team win the championship? Could they win a World Series? And I think in totality, yes, will all those things hit in one season? No. So when I look at
you had a lot of ifs there, Mike.
no, but it was just if everything hit,
Yeah.
could this team with
Sure.
a lack of payroll?
Lightning in a bottle.
Yes. The ceiling is, in my opinion, it's the ALCS. I think they get back to that second round of the playoffs, but to Dustin's point, if you don't have the guns, the hired guns that some of these other teams have, it's just so hard to have everything break your way. And it's nothing against the Guardians. The fact that maybe the lowest payroll in baseball, the second lowest payroll in baseball, I think as an ALCS ceiling is a testament to how much I trust in their process. But I do think you do have to spend a little more money if you're going to win it all.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in a tough spot. I do remember sitting at Yankee Stadium for the ALCS when we were covering it, and I was sitting next to Zach Meisel, who's going to be on the show tomorrow, and we were talking. I said, look at these Yankees. They take like 17 pitches per at-bat. Every game is 5 hours. How do they do that? And he said, listen, they're paying this guy $20 million. You're playing a guy who's making $850,000. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for, hey, you get what you pay for. And they just have that veteran presence where, the Guardians simply don't have that.
It'll be fun. Guardians start tomorrow night, late night, 10:10 first pitch out in Seattle. We'll have all the coverage previewing it and recapping it on Friday here on UCSS. We got to head one more break on today's show. When we get back, there's a lot of smoke and hype for a new possible QB1 in the 2026 draft. Are you guys buying the Simpson hype? We'll find out in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, a name we mentioned earlier in the show when we were talking about what the Browns should do at number 6 was possibly entice the team to trade up to number 6 so they could select Ty Simpson, who was getting a lot of hype in the last 48 hours as potentially the QB1 over Mendoza in this 2026 class. I can't believe what I'm hearing. And Chris, sounds like you can't either.
No, I can't. I worked at Birmingham, Alabama, covered the Crimson Tide for a few years. So coming out, I was messaging with one of my guys down there that I trust, and I said, Ty Simpson, he goes, I'm hearing second, third round. Was really hurt the last half of the year. Basically, no. Not the game-changing, franchise-changing guy, at least not right now. He only had 1 year starting. I look at the fact that Jalen Milroe, yes, he was a great college quarterback, but he wasn't that upper tier where he could never be unseated. And Ty Simpson had to sit behind him for a couple years and wait his turn. There's something to be said for that. But I look at him, I think he's probably going to be an okay prospect. He probably needs some time to develop. And I was listening to Kalen DeBoer, his head coach, on a radio show driving in this morning, and they asked him, is Ty Simpson, does he have that ability to come in day one, stop the Browns carousel, be the guy? And his head coach was a little non-committal on that, that's not my decision to make. He'll come in, he'll compete, he'll try really hard. And those are all great intangibles. But I'd rather the head coach be able to stump for his quarterback and go, this is the guy, day one, your search is over. And he just didn't quite do that.
Dustin, you're a college football expert.
Yeah, I mean, expert. I don't know about
150 years, greatest game.
I don't know if anybody's an expert. It's a tough sport to cover and be able to predict what these guys are going to do in the league. I mean, I would like to hear his coach be a little bit more complimentary and be. I remember when Deshaun came out. Dabo was like, "This is the next Michael Jordan, of football." You know what I mean? And we all can kind of laugh at that or whatever, but at least he had his guys back. And so, I didn't hear the comments this morning, but I would like to hear him say, absolutely, yeah, he could come in there into the right system. It could be a great fit. Instead it sounds like it was not quite.
These guys are salesmen.
It wasn't
aren't they?
negative, but
No, I know, but he did.
It wasn't a ringing
It wasn't
endorsement.
over
yes,
the top.
no, it was
You
not.
think
a
he'd come out and say, "Hey, Cleveland, your problems are solved. He's your guy." That's what these guys do.
He should be stumping for him to be the number 1 overall pick to Vegas, not just 6 to Cleveland or to whoever.
Exactly.
He should be saying, Fernando Mendoza, who? Understand that they beat the crap out of Alabama in the college football playoff. That besides the point. If you're really stumping for your guy,
on a
put your
scale
stand.
of Brian Kelly saying, "Man, I really wish Deshaun Kaiser would come back for another year," to Dabo saying that Deshaun's the next Michael Jordan, it's probably somewhere in the middle, and that still doesn't give me a real good feeling.
No, Nick, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean,
You buying the recent surge in the mock draft world for Ty Simpson?
I just in watching Simpson, it looked like he got worse. Now, you guys mentioned he might have gotten hurt at the end of the year, so sometimes we don't know what guys are playing through. But I just go back, and I know you can't do this. It's one game. It's all about matchups and things like that. But I go back to that Rose Bowl game. I mean, Mendoza looked like he was playing a completely different sport.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and again, he had the pieces, parts. Indiana was built very well, as we know. They won the national championship. But to say, and I know there's been some talking heads that have, they got to make headlines and different things like that. To say that Ty Simpson is a better quarterback than Mendoza is just, it's silly. And I think there's other things that play into that.
It's fair to say. It's fair to say down the road, maybe Simpson will have a better NFL career. Or maybe he'll turn out to be the better quarterback. There's variance all the time. The first quarterback drafted,
we've seen that before.
Rarely is the best.
A guy is a
quarterback
little
to
bit
come
raw.
out.
His ceiling is
Exactly.
higher. Sure, I don't think that's the case here.
and I don't necessarily either, but I understand if that's the case you want to present. But to come out and say, as a prospect right now, he's better based off certain instances. Like, I made this chart. Shout out to PFF for some of these numbers. This is against ranked opponents in their career. Mendoza started more games. That's why he has more numbers. But it's ranked opponents versus ranked opponents. Either way, those are teams in the top 25 when they played. Mendoza had a better success rate, threw the ball downfield better, had a higher completion percentage, threw for a lot more touchdowns and just one more interception. I understand college numbers do not equate to you being a good prospect. If that was the case, then guys like Colt Brennan and Bailey Zappi would be the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and we all know how their careers had turned out. But the tape, the cojones on Mendoza, won a national. He turned Indiana, and Dustin has mentioned this. He turned Indiana
Powerhouse.
into not only a powerhouse but a national championship program.
A wagon.
It was the worst college football program in Power 5 history before Fernando. I want to call him Francesco Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza came in.
Francisco.
Sure,
Francisco.
I like the discourse in the lead up to the draft. I like
Sure.
everyone having their own individual opinions, but Dan Orlovsky is the one who's getting crushed for this. He pointed out specific instances where it's just, unless he's watching a different tape, I don't know how he can say confidently what he's seeing is the truth.
And I'm glad the Pro Football Focus numbers backed it up, because Mendoza, to me, passes the eye test. But sometimes you can dig deeper, and there's different things. You look at different metrics in Pro Football Focus, and you say, oh, man, I'm an idiot. I was wrong. But no, he passes the eye test. And then as your graphic showed, he's pretty damn good.
And played quarterback in the NFL or at any level. I remember one of my first years down in Alabama, Nick Saban, they were going through 4 different quarterbacks trying to, and everyone's like, when are you going to name a starter? When are you going to name a starter? He said, the starter will be determined when the team rallies around the quarterback. And I remember that first year, it was Jake Coker, who most people, if you've never spent time in the SEC, have no idea who this guy is. Won a national championship with Alabama, never did anything in the pros. And there was one specific moment where he trucked a linebacker from Texas A&M, and the entire sideline jumped on him, and that was like, that's our guy. To me, Fernando Mendoza just has that aura around him, and you saw it at Indiana, that this is our guy, thick and thin, he's going to be the guy that lead us. I look at Ty Simpson, and I just don't see that same buy-in from his teammates, which is why if you're investing a number 1 overall pick, if you're the Raiders, you want the guy who's going to walk in that locker room and everyone's going to rally around him, and that's why I'm buying on Mendoza over Simpson.
I didn't think Jake Coker's name would be brought up today.
I-
We're making ultimate
Coker
clear
was
sports
natty?
history.
Yeah.
He did.
Golly, man. I mean,
Nuts.
I remember who he was. I just remember him being.
Dustin, he had, 21 first-round picks around him.
Certainly helps. All right, we do have to take one last break. When we get back, it's our favorite portion of the show. It is Super Chats. Earl's going to read what the comments have to say. And Nick and Chris, buckle up.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
It is time for Super Chats to wrap up today's show. Earl, what does the chat have to say?
Oh, man, the chat is lit. We got about 50 million supers. You know how it goes. Knee Lover G3774 says, I'd rather see DG before I see Watson again. Reason being, there's more potential there, and last year was awful for both rookies.
Okay.
Then I got something from our member, Glenn Thorium. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Genuine question, Mike. What benefit value do we have now for being members?
It's a great question, and we're going to figure that out for you. It is something we have discussed on two calls now, and we're going to figure out, hopefully, and finalize sometime in the next week. I wish I had a better answer for you. Full disclosure, I really wish I did.
Coco Rex says, I will never accept Earl not being a full-time panelist.
Knew you were going to read that one.
Jake Salisbury 4394 says, G's.
G's?
Yeah. Shuttlesworth 73 says, Green is gone. DP 216 says, this is the beginning of the end. Robino says 2 super chats, but 1 was a Venmo request.
So people can pay to send comments in.
Yeah.
We read the paid comments.
Yeah.
So these are paid
that's
comments.
That's all I got. So that's it.
That's all
We
super
got
chats.
2 minutes. Final thoughts from everybody on the panel.
It was your guys' debut. How'd you like enjoying us on UCSS?
A lot of good dialogue, a lot to argue about, a lot to laugh about. It's great to have baseball back. I got to say that. I know we're getting excited for Sweet 16, Elite 8. Love March Madness. Love the NBA playoffs getting started. But there's something special about baseball season being here. It's every single day. The season it doesn't feel like a glorified exhibition, which sometimes I feel like, unfortunately, the NBA regular season can feel like. So a lot on every game, and excited to have baseball back.
These guys upstairs accuse me of being an eternal optimist, so I'm going to bring that here to the show now. I think we're about to have a really fun summer between the Cavs, between the Guardians, and I think the Browns are going to give us a little bit of hope here in the draft. So I'm very excited what the next few months are going to bring us here, and this was a lot of fun. Hope to do this again soon.
Nick, when they hired Todd Monken, you had a chance to do a one-on-one interview with him, correct?
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that one-on-one conversation
all
with Todd
football,
Monken?
all business, and I do think in a way he needs to. I mean, listen, Coach, we know you want to watch film, all hours of the day. I do think in a way he's got to. Okay, I do have to do a little bit of media. I do have to have a little person. I know you got the whistle. I know you got the film. So I know in a way he's all about ball. Which is great, but you also need to have a personality. I think we saw that too, and he's fiery. But I think we saw that with Stefanski, and I think you'll see a different Stefanski in Atlanta because I think when you're all X's and O's, I just think you need to dial it back a little bit. But he'll bring a fiery personality, and he was fun to chat with.
I think he was better in Indy. I think maybe the
Felt
press conference was a little.
Yeah, it could be.
He showed up in the sweatsuit, the Jordan sweatsuit, and I was like, this guy likes ball, but he's got a personality.
Yeah.
One last thing to mention, Bull texted us this morning. He is coming back on Wednesday. Recovery is going well.
Right.
Congratulations,
Yeah, Bull.
Bull, and we will see you here in 1 week on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.